Hey everybody, welcome to the Suzette Speaks show. I welcome you to this special edition, which will be an open mic show featuring one of the friends of this channel. You know him, DL Saint. I Really Want to Know podcast. He has been over here many times, but I've called upon him to help me do a little bit of a news roundup in today's show. There's so many different topics I wanted to cover, and sometimes you can't get to everything. So we are going to do a hodgepodge, hopefully, for your listening pleasure. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit the like button and show some love so other people can see the stream. We're going to touch on everything, y'all, today, from what happened with Mr. Kanye West, taking a self-proclaimed extremist, really many would characterize as a supremacist, to a dinner at Mar-a-Lago, unbeknownst, according to Donald Trump, to him. He comes, he kind of puts Trump in a bad position, makes him look like he's dining with people who many would call extremists. And what does that mean for the two people who have so far declared for running for president in 2024 to be inviting people into their companies, such as this man? We also want to touch on what's happening in China. Did y'all know that there are protests going on right now in China, which is unheard of in their system of government when it comes to opening your mouth or going out into the streets to protest something that you do not like? It is unheard of. And there are thousands of people doing it. Chinese state media is not covering it. It's not allowing it to be shown on their airwaves. But why? Well, there's a COVID lockdown protocol that has been going on, and people are tired of it. The Chinese people en masse, I'm talking about thousands of people, have been in the streets. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you didn't hear what Michelle Obama said, Michelle O made news talking about marriage. If you didn't hear, we're going to talk about her opinion. I'll paraphrase. She voiced an opinion that some took umbrage or didn't agree with when it came to their understanding of marriage. She said there will be rough patches, but not only that, she went deeper, y'all, and suggested that there are years where you may be unhappy in your marriage and you should in fact stay. Stick it out, she said. She tells young people all the time that they give up too easy. And marriage for her, it sounds like, by definition, is more about duty, not this fleeting, happy feeling or this feeling of somehow, always needing the what should I say, the focus to be on your joy and your happiness. So many people got upset with her saying it's not about that. Right? There's often partners who give more at certain times in the relationship. Sometimes it's 50-50, but most times it's not. Someone has to do a little more. Sometimes someone has to give a little more. Sometimes someone has to overlook the parts of the other person that, get on your nerves, y'all, that may become annoying over not year 1, 2, 3. I think that the year 5, probably. I've never been married, but I'm just going to tell you what I think. Year 5, 6, 7, 10. Do you still feel the love? And what should you do about it? Well, many people have decided, nope, it's time to go. It's 7-year itch. I'm not sure what the number is now, but she said there may be some hope for those who are experiencing unhappiness. And I think the word she used was discomfort in marriage. So we're going to talk a little bit about her comments and the backlash she received on Twitter. I wanted to also round up today's conversations with what I said. We're going to talk a little little Michelle. Jerry Jones, the one and only owner of the Dallas Cowboys, was spotted in a very old picture where he looked like he may have been perhaps in high school at a protest against integration. This was back, 70 years or so ago. Many took offense that if someone who is a person of color is seen to have done something terrible in their past, they have to do the apology tour. They have to go around and say how they didn't mean it, or they have evolved and they have grown. But Jerry Jones not really getting that type of treatment. Are y'all seeing that in the media? You actually have people, and I was reading a story before I came on with, I think it was Stephen A. Smith, possibly even defending him. So why is Jerry Jones getting this kind of kid gloves treatment, this softer treatment when other people, when they are faced with behavior in their past that does not meet and is deplorable by today's standards, we kind of don't let them off the hook. Like it seems like the Dallas Cowboys owner is being let off the hook for this. So we want to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna bring up my main man DL Saint now, and let me say hello real quick to who's watching. Shout out to everybody in the chat. RM, one of the most hardest working moderators here on YouTube. Thank you, hun, for being a faithful moderator over here. She says, hit the like button and please put your location in the chat if you're watching. I know we're going a little late tonight, but we won't, we'll make this one short and sweet. But I also have a special announcement. I'll be a guest tomorrow on a show that appears on the Roland Martin Network, y'all. I'm going to be a guest. I'll tell you at the end of the show, but I hope you will support that each week now. So picked up a gig. I'm really, really excited to bring my perspectives to their show and their platform over there. But yes, we got so much to talk about. DLC already in the chat says 70-80% of divorces are filed by women. Here we go. Shots fired. Here we go. Let's bring him up, y'all. Without further ado, glad to have you here, brother. How are you, DL?
I'm all right. When you ask me to come, I'm bringing it.
Yes, sir.
I'm just saying, maybe is that why Michelle Obama's catching a little backlash? I don't know. I just want to throw that out there.
They say people cannot handle the truth, and I think what we want marriage to be, what we want relationships, and what we even want from the other person sometimes may not be as realistic as what, real life throws at you, right? Yeah. She talked about the day in and the day out. It ain't cute. It ain't sexy. It can often be annoying if you are not committed and you want to give up. So we're going to talk a little bit about her and what she said. But before we do, sir, tell people what you do here on YouTube.
Y'all know what it is. I first time I was ever on any platform on anyone's show, it was this show right here, Suzette Speaks. So that's going to go down in the record book. Suzette Speaks discovered me. For those who love me, she gets all the blame. And for those who hate me, she gets all the blame.
Right?
So, but no, I've just been working on the platform. I really want to know podcast. Pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, at least one show. And I started a splinter, a secondary show. It's called the Downrange Podcast, where we simply talk about politics on that. So if you see Downrange Podcast thumbnail or whatever, we have a little logo. You see that logo? We're only talking politics, and that's me and my buddy Jay Swans for the most part. But I really want to know podcast. We talk about everything. So that's what I've been doing, is kind of working on that, trying to figure out how to grow, trying to figure out these YouTube streets, you know what I mean? And thank you so much for always being there to point me in the right direction. You've been there from day one, so I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Like I said, DL and I may not agree on everything, but he's a cool dude. I've learned a lot more about you, getting to know you through YouTube, funny enough. And seeing you grow is amazing. You will find, as they tell me, your audience as you continue just to put out the content. We've both been hard at work. You more so than I, actually, in like the last month. But, we here pushing one another, which is amazing. So I see at the top all of you, my fellow YouTubers who are in the chat. What's up? Raphael wants to get married. Thanks, Raphael.
Right off rip.
Okay.
Right up under my stat. Right up under the stat. 70-80% of divorces are initiated by women. Suzette, will you marry me? I'm like, bro, are you reading?
Raphael says, do you believe in love after love?
He must.
Boy, they finding love, not in the club, on YouTube. What's up, Raphael?
On you, hey, that's a show right there. So, hey, keeping it 100, that's a show right there.
I love it, Raphael. You're so sweet. Thank you. Tori Brain Games. Formerly Talk with Tori. I love it. Tori's Brain Games. I love the name. He was on there. Oh my gosh, it was a minute. We got to do it again, Tori. I enjoyed having him on. Brother who does wonderful shows that he creates himself that are kind of puzzles and quizzes. Shout out to Talk with Tori. Good to see you.
Yeah, salute to you, brother. I've been watching.
He does a fantastic show, y'all. Go ahead and subscribe to Tori's Brain Games. I love it. 40 Boom saying, hey, how you doing, babe? I'm good. Good to have you here. Y'all so funny. Before the billions, B2B, as I call him, BTB, I'm happy to have you, brother. I see you doing a couple shows. I want to go back and watch y'all's crypto show. I think you did one with maybe some C and some other brothers about, with my guy, Perry Unlikely. I saw the headline and I wanted to say, what the crypto boy is saying now? I really need to know. But
you want to talk about freestyle? Hey, Blood's in the streets. I mean, there's some good deals. I got my own triggers when they're getting real close to my little trigger points. As soon as they hit that, I'm gonna have to pick up a couple Bitcoin. I might get up a few Ethereum.
So you getting back into it. So even though the people who bought it and lost, is a good time still for other people to still get in it?
I mean, there were people. There was a talking head, and this is an old money guy. And this was about 6 or 7 months ago. He called it back then. He said, "Look, I can." This was when Bitcoin was peaking. He's like, "I can see Bitcoin going below 10,000, and I can see Ethereum getting below 1,000," because he knew he was like, "Look, this is not sustainable. Inflation is coming, and the Fed is going to have to raise rates." This all came to pass before we knew the rates were going up, before the action was taken, before the pain, so to speak. So, but what he also said was on the other end of this recession, slant depression. It might, we don't know how bad it's going to be. It could slip into a light depression, but on the other end of this, if the politicians and the Fed don't print any more money, that it'll be a bull run like we ain't seen in a very long time. And he said that he could see, Bitcoin becoming basically as high as 100,000 a coin. Now this is. Yeah, I thought I sent it to you. I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
For those of us who missed the Bitcoin train, oh my goodness, hurts my feelings every time.
He said this is a once in a millennial opportunity. That's what he was saying. He's like, if this stuff happens, it's a once in a millennial opportunity. So, because cryptocurrency ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, we had the FTX implosion scared a lot of people. It's unregulated. It's not insured or anything like that.
Not yet. And there's a Fed coin. The U.S. government has a crypto coin which they're just about ready to release.
So they're going to get involved. Awesome. Well, Reese from Philly, the Red Dragon. Y'all know I'm cheap. I don't want to get HBO. So my cousin said she's going to let me get her HBO password so I can get
Don't tell on her, girl. You over here telling on her.
Sorry, never mind. I thought you could get 3 people. Never mind. Actually, I got to text her. I really want the HBO password. Just in case I need it, just because she may not give it to me, but
And salute the brother Reese the Dragon. What's good?
Yes,
fam?
So good. Everybody's in the chat. I love seeing y'all. Thank you. We got Bernard, how are you? Nice to see you. Facts and the Uncomfortable Truth with Bernard S., a fantastic content creator in his own right as well. Says, peace to the chat, to the panel, just stopping by. Whoa, just getting out of physics class. Oh my gosh, you probably need a break. Just listen in. I hope this will provide some easy listening for you.
That makes my brain hurt. Like, you just getting out of what?
Yes, I was like, oh no, that's like how we feel. We get some retired people don't have to worry about how they feel when they get home. But
what you talking about? I got a job. I work every day.
Right? This guy. But yeah, the rest of us, trust me, I can't imagine working, Bernard, then hitting school. Shout out to you, brother. Congratulations on going back. And thank you for stopping by. Yes. Thank you very much, RM, for putting up Tori's channel. Y'all check him out. Putting up DL's channel. Y'all check him out as well. Support all the media that's being created. There are so many people I'm getting ready to collab with. Shout out to Security Boss. She's going to be here on Saturday. You know what we picked as a topic? Is it still smart to have kids?
I'm going to jump on that one. I'm going to be in the chat in that one. Saturday, yes. Okay.
Yes. I have a lady she hasn't been feeling well. I have Black Girl's Guide to Fertility. That's the actual podcast name. I didn't make that up. That's her podcast, helping women with fertility and sharing her own fertility story. I have a blogger, Miss Ijeoma Kim Ogu, divorcee. We're going to come live next Thursday. So we're slowly getting back to our normally scheduled programs over here on the SuzetteSpeaks show. And y'all know I'm going to be... I can't tell you what show. I'll tell you at the end of this Wednesday.
Save it. You gotta save it for the end. Yeah. Make sure y'all hang around for the end. Suzette has a big announcement. It's fire, y'all. It's fire. And don't be mad at me because I know. It's fire. I'm gonna act like I don't know.
I'm excited. New opportunities, y'all. Blessed, very blessed. And thank you to everybody that continue to support. Last Good Man in Jersey in the bill says the latest financial prediction is a recession in Q4 of 2023. So let's stack that paper. Let's save up. Honestly,
Well-
Dia, I went out to a wonderful. I thought I was young this weekend. Oh my God,
You are young.
Listen, I'm so tired today, right? It's Tuesday. So I laughed at myself. I was like, I have a headache still now. Like, I still have a headache. And I couldn't, when you just don't feel right and you're like, why do we have a headache? I was like, oh, we went kind of, I don't go that hard, but just tiredness. Fatigue is a real thing.
Yes.
So I went to a party, just wanted to bring this up, on Sunday, which is usually packed. On when it's held twice a year, and one is on Memorial, one is on Thanksgiving. Memorial Day, it was, I'm talking about, you couldn't even walk, people bumping into you, even though it's an outdoor park, it was filled. So we go this past Sunday, and
Hey, were they playing this?
you know it. I was doing a lot of that. I didn't even put nothing up on my IG. I need to let y'all know what's happening on my IG. But y'all subscribe to my Instagram as well. I got a couple of events coming up. But long story short, it was almost empty. So I was like, were people tired? Or, you don't get the Monday off with Thanksgiving? Or is there a recession? That was like the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, is it a recession? Like, a lot more out-of-towners aren't in town, mind you, in Miami for Memorial. However, it was a real shock to like a few of us who know this party and kind of know the standard. And then again, sometimes parties get burnt out where people are like, okay, I've experienced that for a while now. I don't know what was happening, but I just thought to myself, whoa, are people saving their coins or are people feeling inflation? What do you think?
Well, you got Christmas coming up too. So regardless, there's going to be some belt tightening because, you're going to be, again, they knew Black Thursday was coming or whatever. No, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So you had all that going on.
They got Black Thursday. It's Black
My
Friday.
bad. It's Black Friday. My bad. Black Friday. It could be Black Thursday. It depends on what family you in.
Is that new? No, I really thought it was like, is that
It's
new?
just it's me. That's what happens when you get old, girl. Your the distance between your brain and your mouth, it gets wider. But no, so you had that. People knew they had other things to do as far as what they're going to do with their money and stuff like that. Maybe they were working a little side hustles or having to go to work because you look at. I mean, again. Depending on who you're talking to, we've been in a recession for the past couple of quarters, but there was a midterm, so no one in government, especially the White House, wanted to admit to being in a recession. Right. Now that the midterms are over, you know what I mean? It's like last good man in Jersey pointed out, oh, we're going to be in a recession by Q3 or whatever. It's like, a lot of people, we're here now. You look at what's going on with layoffs, basically firings. You look at what's going on with Tesla, what's going on with Twitter, what's going on with Amazon, what's going on with big retail. But the numbers on Black Friday and Cyber Monday were up. I think the numbers came in higher than expected. So people are like, it's good. Yes.
And they said more people were in the actual malls and the shopping plazas.
Yes.
People wanted to get out. People wanted to travel. A lot more people was traveling. So maybe they spent that money on that plane ticket or that train ticket or that whatever.
But there's a downside to that. You know what the downside is?
Which is?
The Fed is definitely going to go for the gusto on this next round when they do the next increase. 7 points? It's getting up there. They're probably gonna go. God, who knows how hard they're gonna go because they know they're gonna go as high as they can. And this is shout out to George Gammon, Rebel Capitalist. He's been talking about this now for about 6 months. The Fed is gonna raise the interest rates until something breaks.
Oh my
right.
God.
So this is probably the last time they're gonna be able to do a real good one, 2-3 basis points, maybe more, who knows? Because they're like, oh, look at these numbers. People do have money. They went out and spent more money. They're still shopping. Just yank that thing on up there.
More money from them. Thank God for monetary policy. Thanks, Fed.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you can't really blame the Fed. This is the Fed trying to fix the elected officials' policies because they've been, before COVID. Just think about it, going all the way back to the last housing crash. What have they been doing? Bailing out folks and kicking the can down the road. Bailing out folks, kicking the can down the road. Right? Our national debt, no one even talks about it. Like, when's the last time you looked at a national debt clock? It's scary.
I just know it's trillions.
Oh my God!
Is it in quintillions or something like this now? They made new numbers for
we're gonna have to come up with a new number because it's getting there. So that's the whole point. politicians and their policies, Republicans and Democrats, have put us in this situation. So America has to take his medicine. The Fed understands that, and they're going to raise the interest rates as high as they can because the Fed only has one trick, and that's to lower interest rates. So they're gonna do that. You're looking at what's going on.
So looking at it last year, I was just talking to my a realtor friend of mine. You could have got a 2-point-something% interest rate on a house, and you would pay 3 times for it if you bought it now. And so people are eventually, I think there's still an appetite. You got some investors, and you still got some people, not everyday folks, because they're looking at the numbers. Even in fact, a friend of ours had been laid off, who was an underwriter that we know, and she does corporate accounts, etc. And we were talking about that. And she was like, yeah, they kept it for as long as she could, but she's not underwriting any loans. So
she has to go.
Yeah, lots. I think she'll be all right though. We kind of been talking about how she can, parlay it into a new type of job. You gotta be agile. You gotta be flexible. But she's not worried, honestly, for what she's trying to do laterally. But yeah, it's definitely in the system is pumping the brakes, but not really. It has not hit the brakes yet. So cooling down the economy is a very difficult thing sometimes, or little people feel it, I guess, the most, I would say.
Always.
But it must be done. But yes, we are here with DL Saint, y'all. Check out his channel. We are doing a little bit open mic. I'll start with China, because I don't think a lot of people know about what's happening in China. And we won't spend a lot of time talking about it, but I just think you guys should at least be aware that there's this huge groundswell, grassroots, however you want to call it, of people protesting. And again, when you have like a communistic government, communism is the policy and the regime. People are not allowed to protest and say nothing because they could be jailed, right? It's a very
or rolled over, or just ran over with a tank.
Tiananmen Square. Yeah, it's repressive by American and our standards, right? Democratic standards. We can, thank God, First Amendment, say what we feel, and without reprisal of some kind of government crackdown. We're seeing that in Iran as well. I won't go into Iran today, but we're seeing it all over the world. There's a very stark difference between the thing we take for granted, I feel, free speech, and what we're seeing, folks in China trying to exercise and being, I'm talking about on lockdown for COVID protocol. I kind of get it, but they are up in arms because they are mad and they're sick and tired of the COVID lockdown. So talk about any news that you have read with regards to what's going on in China.
Well, Al Jazeera is reporting today, because again, I'd like to read everything, especially with something like this. The Western media is going to report one thing. You need to find another source that kind of get you some balance. Al Jazeera for me is that source, because they ain't got no skin in the game either way. They don't care. But these demonstrations began, and I am not going to try to pronounce these Chinese cities. So y'all just it is what it is. It was, just trust me, it was a Chinese city, right? So there was a high-rise apartment building which caught fire last Friday. 10 people were dead, right? It left 10 people dead. The protesters blame the deaths on the strict measures linked to the government zero COVID policies, right? So there's video out there that shows barriers in front of this building, which became a barrier for the firefighters to get in to save the people. And you're talking about a high rise.
Absolutely. Let me color that in. Many people are being quarantined in their homes and in specialized designated buildings. So whether you're testing positive or for whatever reason or been exposed, however the government has laid down the law, you can't leave your building. So they're like, who are you to tell me I can't leave? And then this tragedy happens where firefighters and these people could not get into this building due to the fire. So I just want to kind of put some context to that.
Right. So it caught the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, on their heels, because they didn't think that so many people would be up in arms. People were really upset. They took to Chinese social media, which is heavily regulated, but it was such support from the people that they couldn't restrict it fast enough, and it began trending even in their country, which led to protests. And these protests have broken out in many cities in China. Today, according to Al Jazeera, it hasn't been as active as far as the protests today as to the 2 days prior. But heavy police force and probably quasi-military force or in the streets throughout China and all the major cities and all of the like the medium cities. So the Chinese Communist Party is really trying to put it down, and the people want a regime change. They want Xi Jinping out. They're saying it. They're using phrases like "give me liberty" or "give me death."
Welcome 1776.
Hey, you want to talk about the power of technology? You want to talk about the power of the internet? People in China are screaming, "Give me liberty" or "give me death." So this is major. Like whatever happens, I personally think moving forward, China's gonna come with the heavy hand. So if there's gonna be another protest, let's say this weekend, someone's trying to get together, arrange some sort of protest, they're gonna get smited mightily by the Chinese military. I think the Chinese Communist Party understands that they can't allow this to continue, and they're gonna go seek out and chop off the heads. So they're gonna open up those re-education centers over there in China.
My God.
I guarantee you that. So and then you look at Iran. I know you didn't want to touch on it, but just real quickly, so the World Cup is going on. For most Americans, we have no idea what that means when it comes to soccer or football or whatever we want to call it. But America was in a must-win situation against Iran. So that America and Iran don't get along, y'all.
Right.
America won 1-0. That's 0 in football talk. They beat them 1-0, right? The Iranian people are dancing in the streets back in Iran. They're celebrating the Iranian national football team lost because they look at them as government, as an arm of the government. The Iranian people are really upset. And that stems from mass executions that were being talked about or maybe planned. I'm not really up on that story because we said we weren't going to talk about it, so I didn't really bring it up. But I know Patrick Bet-David has been talking about this story for a couple of weeks on the PBD podcast. So because he's originally Iranian, he escaped with his family back in the 80s, I believe, when he was very young. So, but you have China and Iran, definitely enemies of America. If those two governments become unstable now, that's definitely going to have some effect on the rest of the world. It's going to have some effect on us. It's really going to have an effect on what's going on in Ukraine with Russia. So when you talk about world news and how all these things kind of play on the other, it's a lot going on, y'all.
Yeah, great summation, because again, it seems like it's so far away, but look at this pandemic. Look at all the things that are now, we realize more and more are intertwined with respect to our government and what's going on with other governments around the world. We're all in this thing together. I know I don't talk about it here, issues like climate change and things like this, but economically speaking, not saying that climate change isn't a valid issue. I'm just saying I haven't discussed it here, but look at, at the economics, even while we are being, right now in the United States, kind of pushed by labor forces of like the railways. I think they're in a labor dispute. Workers for national railroad companies are seeking more benefits from companies that have been making like billions of dollars in the last couple of years, right? Profits are crazy. They've cut 30% of the workforce to increase profits, and you have workers who don't get a single day of paid time off, and they're threatening to strike. Of course, we don't want that here in the United States. We want to make sure, our rail system carries I would say maybe like a third or so. Let me give a ballpark. I was reading it earlier, of our goods, and it's tied to millions of jobs from the distribution, the trucking, and all the things that are related to rail. So we have to, in this case, it seems like President Biden is going to interject and ask Congress to intervene, even though he's a pro-labor, right, labor union president. We can't have stuff like that happen. What it will look like for our economy and the economies of the world. It's just something that, again, we are also tied in together. That it was a story that I saw just late this afternoon when it came to labor relations. And again, why not allow or advocate for 7 days paid time off? Because you got them working so much more, etc.
Well, I'm union. I am 100% union. I'm a retired air traffic controller, as you tell everybody. I'm retired air traffic controller, and the NACA, National Air Traffic Controllers Association. They got to understand NACA came from PACO. Well, who was PACO? PACO was the union back in the 80s. Why is PACO so famous? Ronald Reagan broke that union. He fired the air traffic controllers who went on strike back then,
I
right?
remember that. I was
And
Pan Am or whatever. I remember this. I remember this.
all federal air traffic controllers were fired.
Yes.
And I know a lot about that again because I was in the field. I actually worked with guys who were fired on the picket line and then got hired back in some 20 years later to the same facility they were fired at, and they were working next to the guys who were the quote unquote scabs, the guys who replaced them.
Across the picket line. Yeah, I think I studied this in business school. I think I studied that. Like,
it was crazy. So you're looking at what's going on. I'm pro union all the way, but you look at what's going on with rail. Now, I didn't know anything about this story. After tonight's show, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna research it. The thing is here's the thing. The timing is off. We're going into a recession. Everyone's tightening their belt. And it's like, oh, we want to get this money. We're ready to strike. Okay, you're forcing the government to intervene. Like as you already mentioned, what's the government going to do? They're not going to be able to side with labor. You're never going to be able to get the 1% to pay money. You're going to have to come up with some sort of deal, some sort of tax break or whatever in order to get them to pay money. They're still not going to want to increase their labor costs. So this is going to get messy. And then you look at someone put in the chat was talking about trucks and diesel gas being expensive. Yes, trucks and like the trucking, there was like a slight boom in trucking, short term, long haul and all this kind of stuff, the long haul trucking, but that's gone. So these independent contractors who are the truckers, they're not making the money that they need with the increase in oil prices, which is gas. Yeah. Which we all give, everyone has to pay the difference, right? Why is it that eggs are like $20, almost $20 for like 24 eggs or whatever in the grocery store? Everything's more expensive.
$5 a dozen now for the good ones. For the organic one that I buy is $5 a dozen. I'm like $4.99.
Yeah, it's crazy. So everything is going up because everything has to be moved around. If the real operators decide they're going to go on strike, that's a serious problem. Now we're talking about national security. So I'm kind of curious as to how this is going to play out.
Something that we could definitely come back to. It is fascinating to see. Again, sometimes these news stories just pop up so quickly you don't even realize, right? By the time of the end of the day, the news cycle is done. So we want to mention them here, guys, so you can stay informed and stay on top of the situation. Good evening, Core Facts Podcast in the building. Great to have you. I saw Sandy B. Law. Hey, girl. Can't wait to see you later
Sister
this
Sandy.
week. And appreciate you being here, always supportive. And she also has a channel. So I hope you guys will go and support her channel. And Brown Gal Peace Lounge too. It's a lot of my folks here. I appreciate you guys. Hit the like button as you come in. If you're watching Team Replay, hit the like button. Tonight is an easy breezy open mic. We're just talking about different news headlines that you may have missed or just want to know a little bit more about. There's always more to the story sometimes than that. This is what our society has come to. We read headlines and sometimes we don't get to dig a little deeper. So we're going to do a little bit of digging with y'all tonight. I want to move on, DL. I want to get to Michelle Obama because this was something I've been watching go across my YouTube timeline. Many shows were done on it, and it's Miss Michelle Obama, Lady O.
You're gonna have to send me some of that stuff because I didn't look into this thing. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let Suzette tell me, and I'm gonna give you my 5 cents. You know what I mean?
So yes, DL, this is I don't know. I'll put you on the spot, but I think you might actually have a woman after your same heart in some respects. And I think it shocked a lot of people because Michelle Obama seems like she is, well balanced, well put together, but that maybe she requires a man to do certain things. And I think it is great that she has exposed to many people who are thinking about marriage, who are in marriage, who may have certain concepts about marriage that guess what? Her words, marriage is not 50-50. Michelle. She gave marriage advice in her new book, and she's been making the media rounds, and a lot of people are, kind of surprised. I think she raised a lot of eyebrows when she mentioned some of the main points of contention for her book. And I'll bring you on back in the second, DL. So just to cover it real quick, she has a new book coming out, The Light We Carry, Overcoming in Uncertain Times. So in this book, she talks a lot about relationships, particularly her relationship, Michelle Obama's relationship with former President Barack Obama. So in it, I'll just highlight a couple of quotes that were, I think, I don't say shocking, but surprising to some people when she was asked about marriage not being 50-50. Is there hope for young people? What's in her toolbox when the days of, maybe you guys not getting along, or when marriages get a little bumpy or hit a rough patch. And she said they often do, sometimes years long, y'all. And her advice though was not to give up. Her advice was to stick it out. Imagine that. So former First Lady Michelle Obama says this book is her best attempt in offering people a look inside her toolbox of practices and habits that the people who keep me balanced, sharing her philosophy around marriage, parenting, partnerships, or whatever. Let me get to the juicy part. Marriage is never 50-50. All right. Obama often gets a question about how she and Barack have stayed in their marriage for so long, of course, and they have celebrated this year 30 years of marriage. Imagine that. 30 years is a long time, right? So this concept of relationship being a partnership, for those who choose to be in partnership, she writes, we have to understand, and this is a quote, that marriage is never 50-50, she says. Marriage is less like a scale, writes Obama, and more like an abacus. Oh yeah, I remember the abacus, that counting kind of tool from back in the day. So what does that mean? The comparison she's giving is with the sliding beads back and forth over time, they will eventually be a 50-50 split of attention, support, and love. But it's important to let a relationship be dynamic. Her words, right? She says she finds it fascinating of how little our culture talks to young adults about what it means to partner with someone. So as they seek out romantic relationships, young people should ask themselves critical questions instead of what many of us view as being the superficial ones. Girl, he look good. Girl, she fine. Or homie, he fine. She fine. Or whatever y'all doing out there. But instead of this kind of superficiality that we have become accustomed to, particularly within our culture, she said, what are you trying to get out of this relationship with this other person? Have you thought it clearly through? Are you seeking a wedding? Oh, Michelle Obama. Or do you actually want a relationship? Those are two very different things, she says. She also wants young people to understand that being in a relationship also means making this word compromises with your partner, which isn't always easy. Obama says she feels bad when people give up on relationships because of a period of disagreement. Help, Lord. This is family. That's what happens, or conflict. Her advice is to expect those, her quote, long stretches of discomfort. I think it's important, she says, for us to not glamorize what a partnership feels like, because young people quit too soon. They quit before they've really played out the full scenario. There's much more to this that she has expressed, but I'm going to bring back DL and your thoughts on Lady O's comments on marriage.
It sounds like Michelle might have drifted into the red pill world. That's all. I'm just throwing that out there right now. But and I'm joking, y'all. I'm joking. Y'all know I just. So like I said earlier, I would say this: whenever people tell the cold hard truth, the masses seem to get upset. Not all the masses, but like it's people gonna make noise. You know what I mean? It's like the small percentage of the fringes to make a lot of noise. What she is saying is true. Any relationship takes hard work. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's a romantic relationship. I don't care if it's a business relationship. It takes hard work. And while you were talking, I was kind of like, you know what I mean? I wonder what they, like what they said when they got married. And like when you look at, let's see, like marriage vows, right? We'll look at Catholic. You know what I mean? And it says, to be my husband or wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, until death do us part, right? And they are older, so they probably got married under some vows similar to that. That's what the vows mean, right? You gotta. It doesn't say, well, I'm gonna do all this until I'm not happy and then I'm leaving.
Yes,
you know what I mean, and that's what she's saying, and she is without a doubt a boss queen. That's Michelle Obama. She stands by her man to this day. Barack Obama, the first black man to be president of the United States, the brother who went through everything we went through, all that stuff he went through, what Trump was saying about him and what all those people over there was saying about him. She had to go through them getting on her about wearing a sleeveless dress,
for her portrait, yeah, and comparing her to a monkey and comparing her to all kinds of stuff.
Right. And the next first lady, not just throw shade, but the next first lady, there's pictures of her naked with other women doing all kind of stuff. So, but again, she went through all that. And yet she still, if you read their book, I forget which one it is. I got it downstairs. I haven't gotten into it yet. But Barack Obama talks about that. He talks about how he knew Michelle was like, yo, do something, husband. They're attacking me. Right. And she still stayed with him. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it means when you say those vows. That's what marriage is. It's and again, like to your point, 50-50. It's never 50-50 ever. Yeah.
No, she also, and I agree with you what you just shared. She says that someone will always be giving way more. She had to make sacrifices, for example, to prioritize her husband's career. Yeah. Look how it got them. Look how far it got them.
And everybody got to eat off of it. Both of them. Yes,
for generations.
For generations.
But think about the forethought of a woman who was actually his supervisor, who was actually his senior, like more experience, was training him to say, this man has potential, right? And to be open enough, humble enough, and visionary enough to see, well, he ain't got it now, but he has the basics of a value system, of character, and he ain't that bad looking, praise God. But the basics of the work ethic, the vision, the similarities of desire for, what life should be, family values, or various parts of, what should I say, philosophy on living. Once you have those cores, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about marriage. I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's bad.
It's got to the point where I'm like, I think I'm making my next women's conference about relationships, and that's totally not me. That's not normally what I talk about when I'm at or when I produce conferences. But it is so much where I am in my real authentic life. Y'all, I'm single lady. People don't believe that, but I am.
You single by choice. I mean, we talk about this all the time. You guys, you started, girl. Let me say this one thing. And then I'll be quiet. We couldn't get 5 minutes into this podcast without somebody proposing to you. That's all I want to say. Outside is facts. What the other kids say? Facts. They say facts.
It was a joke.
Oh, was it now? Was it now?
He was being facetious, right?
Oh, was he now? Okay.
Listen, if I told you about some of the interactions I've had this weekend, we could talk offline.
We'll talk offline about that. I know we need to chop it up.
I'm like, is this what we got out here? Like, what is going on? But nonetheless, the point I was making a point about a boss chick like Michelle demonstrating humility and I think following a leader. And I think tell me where I'm wrong.
No. The only thing I want to, I'm with you 100%. It's just, I don't like the term boss chick in reference to a Michelle Obama.
Well,
because I don't say queen often. I don't say that. I don't say queen often, but in her,
people say it to me, and
okay.
I'm like, hey, queen, and that's not normal. But I do believe people are beautiful. I'll say it like in that sense. But
Michelle's powerful. I mean, it just, my thing is, from the power sense, a boss chick, in my opinion, is not necessarily powerful. Nor is a boss dude, but the first lady. You know what I mean? Okay. Like you said.
So let me clarify where I was going. I think, and I agree with you, the typical meaning that we have in pop culture of boss chick is not Michelle Obama. Okay. What I was trying to make a comparison with is the true meaning of what it means to be a boss chick, as demonstrated by her ability to follow and her ability to sit back. That's true boss chick behavior, if you will. But I understand what you're saying, that in our culture, boss chick has a different connotation, which is far from what she is. But I feel like that terminology would be used in conversation applied to Michelle Obama. Maybe among women, maybe I'll say like that they would say, oh, she's the ultimate boss chick.
Well, I would say this. I would say this, and even the red pill community would agree with this. When they talk about, you always hear the term high value man or whatever. I say top tier high value. So what's a high value woman? Well, Michelle Obama is a high value woman. Why? Because she has the highest value man. She has managed to determine right? And to keep this man post sex, to get the ring, to get the last name. She is high value. And that's what that's the red pill's teaching. And on that point, I will agree with the red pill. Like that is absolutely. And she comes out and she's like, it's not all lollipops and candy canes. Like it is hard work, which you're right. It's hard work to be a high value man. It's hard work to work yourself up to that. Michelle Obama maintained her value long enough to get that man when he went on his way up. She was smart enough, wise enough to know that that's the guy she's going. Like you say, she was the boss. She was his boss.
Right.
And look at them now. So again, you know, normally I don't fight these small points, but with Michelle Obama, it's like,
you're like, don't apply it to her. But again, I think there are a lot of people that might say it applies to her, but I get your point why you don't believe it applies to her. But what I'm saying is the character she demonstrated is not necessarily what is associated with that terminology, even though for the people who define it as a woman who is living life on her own terms, who has should I say, a good family balance, a vision for her life.
But does that woman have a husband? That's the whole thing, isn't it?
The point is, Michelle does.
Yes.
That's the point. I think we're saying the same thing in a different way.
We are. It's semantics. I think we're lost in semantics.
How you're defining boss chick, how I am now, how I wanted to apply to her because I hear it used regularly, but you're saying that's not how you should define it because that's not really what you're seeing people who call themselves boss chicks do. I get that. But yeah, of all the boss chickenness, she got a man and she stepped back for her man. Like that's the biggest boss move to me that one can make. That trust of a good partner. I know y'all don't like that term, but trust of a good husband and thinking, I think it was Wealth Engineering who came up here, who said he had a new wife, or excuse me, a new love interest from Africa.
Told on somebody.
No.
Ain't nobody gonna tell you nothing no more, girl.
He said it on here. He said in her culture they have something called almost like a scarf. Like I trust my husband's scarf. And when they come through the door, it's like I trust my husband. I love you. Put it on in the car. I trust my husband. Like I think he was so moved by that someone could put that level of trust in the good and the bad. Again, we're talking about two serious people approaching marriage from a serious point of view. This is definitely not for the faint-hearted, for the treating marriage like a date. No, it's not for any of that. The Pookie Ray Rays, picking up anybody just so you can have a wedding in this. We know there are people who go through. You know what? I forgot. Who was I talking about about? Y'all, do you remember, Dale, where there was a time, or did you ever read a news story where a woman set up a wedding for herself and married herself?
I heard that. I never read the story, but I heard like the news was talking about like she married herself. Yes. And there was a lot of jokes about her, you know, they were like, oh, she's already filed for divorce, which was hilarious.
And I thought about that. I'm like, but that woman considers herself a boss chick. So I get where you're coming from with a lot of different which I say broad connotations to that word, and why we have to really define it with the characteristics that I think many would say should be valued and should be promoted. But I think people got upset with her because it is a firm, distinct take that is not the pop cultural take on marriage. And I think I don't even want to call it old school. Practical might be a better word. Is a more realistic take. But I think, again, you know, if you think, again, we rest in peace, Godfather, the sense that I can do bad all by myself or I can do better. And again, I'm excluding a lot of the justifiable, of course, abuse and things like this and things where you have to really get away from things.
I think we should be very careful in our society of rebranding and watering down that type of success. Right? Because you look at what's going on, that takes an extraordinary amount of work and effort and foresight and wisdom. So to water it down by saying she's a boss, babe, that's why I was like, nah.
I get you.
Yeah, because old girl who married herself. Okay, yeah, she's a boss, babe. Go ahead and call her that.
I understand. That's why I was trying to bring up the contrast. I hear
Yeah,
you. I hear you
she's
loud
a
and
boss,
clear.
babe.
How
And then
I was trying to shape the culture by putting different meaning to it. But for the current day, right now, 2022 meaning. Oh no, she's far superior in
far
her
superior, and it's
thinking, in her strategizing, and understanding. Again, maybe a older, or some people might say outdated concept of marriage. But again,
and
marriage
we.
is not a game.
It's
Marriage
not
is
a game. And I was saying in the second half of that point is I see it all the time on the other side of the internet, on the manosphere side, when women come over and they talk about, yeah, I done slept with you name the amount of guys, and it's like, but but I haven't done anything in 3 months, so I'm a virgin again. Virgin again. Like there's only one virgin. There's only one way to be a virgin, right? And when you lose it, you lose it. And they talk about traditional women. Well, I'm a traditional woman. No, you're not. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. We have to be very careful.
I don't spend enough time over there going through.
Right, and I don't want you to, but you see the point. There are people who have missed the mark, and they know they missed the mark. They'll never get there. But if I could just lower that bar enough, now I get a trophy too. We need to be very careful of that as a society.
Well, we have some pushback. Hey, TTOO, glad to have you. Said, what y'all talking about? Jumps in and says, I don't need a boss chick to step back. I need her to step up. We bosses together. Okay. I think different strokes for different folks. Everybody's marriage is not the same. And I think a lot of times it's comparison culture, even as it applies to marriage. Grass is greener where you water it. And if y'all have this kind of dynamic where both of y'all work, okay, good for you. If you have the ability where one person can work, good for you. If you have the ability to do other kind of arrangements, I think sometimes with one size fits all, and the dynamic that my best friend have, I don't have. So she stay at home and I work, and I don't like that I have to work. That's what get a lot of people kind of messed up and really forfeiting what could be a viable long-term loving, again, through the bumpiness, through what she said was years of discomfort. Help me, oh God. I haven't even practiced any of this that I'm preaching right now, because when it's in your face and you looking at him and he looking at you like, oh my God, I want to just get struggle you right now. Like, it is a lot to love in spite of. And help me, God. I'm not perfect. I probably I've told people several times, if I was married 10 years ago, I would have been divorced. I was not ready. Understanding these concepts.
You don't know that, and I have to push back
No,
on that.
I'm
So
maturing.
you don't know that. You don't know that.
But
you get immaturity, but you also have strong family ties. So I'm pretty
somebody would
sure
have gave me the right answer on the test.
I think somebody would say, won't you think about this for a little bit? You know what I mean? Because
yes,
I have
probably
yes.
would not have jumped ship. I don't know.
I don't think you
but
would.
They might have want to leave me.
But here's the thing though, 70% really is like, it's closer to 90% now. 80 to 90% of 70 to 80% of marriages or divorces are initiated by women these days. 70 to 80%, and it's higher for educated women. Women who've gone to college is like closer to 90. We did that on our hypergamy show. Those numbers are still those numbers.
The numbers don't lie.
But and here's the thing with reference to you, because of your spiritual grounding. I'm a heathen. It don't work for me, but for you, your spiritual grounding would keep you, because you made a promise not just with that man, but you made a promise with your God.
To the Lord.
To the Lord. So I would be very shocked.
That's true. I never really give myself that kind of added understanding in terms of my own personal walk. And I was much more committed to my church in those days. Absolutely. You're right about that.
And for me, I'm a heathen. And heathens like me, we don't care, man. Cut that. Who gets half, bro? Let's divvy the money out, bro. What's going on? But and I
love
think
it. You're like, I probably would have been hot. But yeah, no, I'm gonna pay you to leave. No.
How much you need to go?
Do that. I'm laughing, but I've seen it happen. But no, a lot of people do that. It's strange. Sometimes people don't anticipate who they're getting. That's another thing. Sometimes you think you're getting one thing, is dressed up nice in a bow till you jump that broom. And when you wake up, you like, what? It happens to both men and women. I've heard crazy stories.
Yeah. And isn't that the work that Michelle was talking about? That's the work she's talking about, right?
Yeah. So we got to really vet. We got to really look and try to be as perceptive as possible. Again, there are a few exceptions where people really lie and present themselves to be one thing. But oftentimes, again, we're looking at some things that maybe should not be as weighted as the core values of a person, which everybody sometimes, we can get caught up. But not everybody, I think in our culture subscribes to, we say it, we talk it, but we got to look around and who are we selecting and why. And so hopefully, maybe the book she's written will shed a lot of light and continue that discussion on what makes a good mate. When do you throw in the towel? When is it appropriate? And what you can do if you are in those rough patches.
Well, it depends on your, it depends on, it depends you made with your God, depends on your family, depends on you as an individual. You're really not supposed to, it says till death, right? So if you got that in the vow.
That's what it says.
That's what it says.
It's supposed to be, and I pray to God. I know a couple people in rough patches. I know people in very healthy and happy marriages too. Don't get me wrong. But just as we're talking about this subject, there are two people that come to mind, won't name them, of course, who have, disclosed in privacy, some very rough patches. And I just say, encourage him with love. Encourage him with love. Again, I can imagine when that man laying next to you, you want him to fix the behavior, or you want him to go to therapy, or you want him to get his life, and he's not doing it. And again, that's another whole layer of a partner that you're encouraging, but that does not want to change. What do you do? And I might say, man, so it's just encourage him with love. Don't push him. The man don't like to be pushed. Encourage him with love. So one homegirl, write a letter. Try to write it as sweet as you can, almost like a prayer, and ease off of him. Don't even, after he read it, let him marinate on it. Don't go hard. But again, I'm the third party. I'm not the person coming out the fridge and making dinner, looking at your face and grab, bagging groceries and then asking you.
Listening to you snore and all that kind of stuff. And you're not that person. I got a question for you though. A serious question.
Yeah.
If the divorce laws were to change, in other words, the person filing for divorce would be punished monetarily or not rewarded, you think that would change?
100%. You don't even have to finish. I read a comment in one, I don't know whose show. I think it might have been underneath maybe one of these gentlemen, content creators, a comment, and I don't know it to be true, so I don't even really want to repeat it. But I'm going to look, and allegedly in Kentucky, it was mentioned that Kentucky's, and I don't know this for a fact, y'all got to go ahead and research, but it was mentioned in a comment that Kentucky's family court had changed everything to 50-50 mandatory time.
I heard the same thing. And you might have been, actually, you know what? You were watching my show because it was someone in my, I think it was my show because we were talking about this.
It was on Shay New Jackson comments. I don't know.
Because I remember once you were in the chat and
probably I could be wrong. I really just don't know whose show it was. So it might have been.
But I've heard this.
That Kentucky now, no matter what, no fault, you don't have to come to court. Everybody getting 50-50. And so it's no custodial parent battle and all this. And I forget what it said about the monetary side. I don't know.
But that doesn't answer for alimony, does it? That takes care of the children.
Yes.
But that doesn't answer for the alimony part. I
don't know. Honestly, I want to go research it because ever since I saw the comment, I was like, I wonder if Kentucky is doing that. And how they're splitting the marital assets or other parts.
Yes, they split the marital assets and it's 50-50 on custody. I want to say that was my show. I think that was on my show. Okay. Now again, we got to go research that because I didn't vet that.
Just because it came through your question as something similar, having heard something similar where what if the laws change? Would people stop? I do think there would be a lot more, deterrence against, what we have, no fault divorce now.
And here's a thought. It would just flip flop, and then 30% of women would file for divorce, and 70% of men would.
Funny, but that's actually wrong.
I ain't gonna lose nothing. I got this 22-year-old over deuces. I'm out,
and I still get my kids half time. See you next week. Come on and oh Lord, that's a great point, Dio. Oof, I don't know. Oof.
You want to talk about mind games? Where's Brother Tori? We want to talk about mind games. That goes one for you.
Salty. People would be salty. Let's see. TTOO agrees, says men don't let marriages or relationships go. Men have a what's mine is mine mentality. Would you agree with that, Dio?
Yes and no. I mean, I get where the brother's coming from, but I dudes, especially nowadays, dudes are walking away from relationships if they can. Marriage is a different thing because they know they're gonna get wrecked, and that's the thing. Like, well, I got married to her, I know I'm gonna lose half. I'm gonna lose half. They're gonna take my kids, all this other kind of stuff. But remove that, I think you would have equal numbers of men walking away if they get to that point. You know, because guys are like, yeah, what's mine is mine. That's you, my woman. I'm your man. But you know, they know that they're bound to this thing not only by the religions and the words and the whatever the ceremony, but also by law.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a food for thought for sure. TTO adds, my elders told me I'm not going nowhere and they not going nowhere. I think I had an aunt say that one time. That if him dropping at a hole like for funeral, she gonna jump down in the hole with it.
You jump in the hole with him? Yeah, I heard that.
Is that deep? Okay.
It was in some movie. It was some comedy movie where like, I'm gonna leave you in the ghetto like till death. Yes. I see it's till death. They kept saying that.
If you going down, I'm going down too. And I always remember that. I was like, okay, yeah, this is for real, for real. Us against the world for sure. Hey, wonderful 34 in the building. Good to see you.
What's good, fam? What's good?
Here, Lando. Great, good to see you as well, brother. We're here having a little open mic chat, just covering some headlines that came about. If you're a team replay, hit the like button. We got one more to go, DL. I wanted to talk a little bit. Moving on from Michelle Obama. If you are watching, leave your comment below. Leave your comment, y'all, on what you think about what Michelle O said when it comes to marriage, and that you will have periods of discomfort and you should stick it out through them. And there will be compromise where one person is giving more, way more, and the other is giving less, and vice versa. Like the abacus. I don't know, some of the young people might not know what I think that was my first counting tool. I think my parents brought it with them from Jamaica. I had an abacus. And so if you don't know what that is, look at it in Google. But
there was a documentary I watched decades ago, and it was about the kids, the kids who do high level math competitions with just their mind. And the Chinese teams, they would use an abacus, and what they would do is use a mental one. So when you see them working these huge problems, you would see their hands going back and forth because they're using a mental abacus. I wish I could remember the name of that documentary. At least that's 20, 30 years ago.
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I know. It was a big part of my learning growing up, especially when I was really young. My dad pulled out the abacus and I was doing math on abacus. But cool. I want to talk before we head out about Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. I was reading this article's in the Griot. Y'all can check it out, thegriot.com.
So you ain't gonna mess with Ye and Trump. You're gonna skip over to Jerry Jones.
I'm sorry. I thought did we not cover this? All right. Tell us what happened with the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Tell us what happened.
I'm sure everyone knows. Yeah. Like, you know,
if they don't, just a quick synopsis. Who did he bring to dinner?
So Donald Trump and Kanye West decided they were going to have dinner. Kanye West brought some people with him, and according to Donald Trump, Ye brought 3 people with him, and Trump was like, I didn't know who they were. So and this is from Fox News. Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, was asking me for advice concerning some of his difficulties, in particular having to do with his businesses. Trump said in his second statement. We also discuss to a lesser extent politics, where I told him he should definitely not run as president, and any voters he has, he should have them vote for me. This was so Kanye West brought a white nationalist to Mar-a-Lago to dinner with Donald Trump. Donald Trump had dinner with Kanye West, who is right now the most known anti-Semite out there. And then you have a white national, a Holocaust denier, this other young guy. His name is Fuentes, Nick Fuentes, I believe his last name. And Trump was there. And Trump was like, I didn't know who this guy was. He just showed up. It wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. It's his fault. But the entire world is like all Trump. Like, I mean, even there's an article in Newsweek right now that says, are we witnessing a full-blown MAGA implosion? You have former Trump advocates speaking out right now. You got Mike Pence, who's going on record saying, those relationships with Trump fell apart in the wake of the January 6th attacks. That was like Mike Pence and Donald Trump relationship, and he was saying that white nationalists and anti Semites and Holocaust deniers, have no seat at the table. Talking about the Republican Party, and he said he called for Trump to apologize and to denounce this guy, which we know ain't gonna happen. Mike Pompeo has come out, who was former Secretary of State in the Trump administration. They have so many of them. And he said that anti-Semitism is a cancer, you know what I mean? And he was like, anyone in the GOP, who socializes or, interacts with such people are wrong. And I'm paraphrasing there. Bill Cassidy, another big-time Republican, Ronna McDaniel, who was the chair of the National Republican Committee, she said white supremacy, neo-Nazism, hate speech, and bigotry are disgusting, and they do have a home. They do not have a home in the Republican Party. She came out against him, and culture came out against Trump. All these people are coming out. These are big time Republicans now. They're all coming out saying Trump was wrong to have this guy at his table, and Trump is blaming Kanye West. And the funny thing to me is Kanye West came to dinner to see Donald Trump, to ask Donald Trump to run as Kanye's vice president. Yeah, I was like, man, this dude done lost his mind for real.
Yay. I just think, is this a perpetual PR machine that Kanye had? Again, we had a long show on this idea that, was Kanye lucky? Is Kanye being used as someone who is not a learned person? Is he smart as a fox? I don't know. And
no, he's not. Come on. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Things that I thought were like, bruh, this one right here is it not a publicity stunt? Or you think there was actual desire to say, Donald Trump, can you be my vice president? Like, is that a real thought in his mind, you think?
A publicity stunt? No, in his mind, it's a real thought. A publicity stunt. Okay, what do you gain by it? You've already lost billions of dollars.
News, staying relevant. I don't know.
You're staying relevant as the guy who hates the Jewish people.
I know.
You're staying relevant as the guy who's trying to start another Holocaust. Like, what do you? And this is what I was watching. Flagrant with Andrew Schultz's show, and he was talking about it, and he made a really good point. He was like, the Jewish community is really up in arms because this is how it began. Yes. Post World War I. Yes. And this is what led to Auschwitz. It led to Dachau. It led to all these death camps. And it wasn't just the Jewish people. There were political dissidents. There were gypsies. But
LGBT.
Yes. Anyone, people who were born with deformities. There were people who were mentally challenged, all that kind of stuff. People with disabilities. Horrific things happened to these people under the Nazi regime. But it started with words like this. And I cannot be mad at them for coming out and fighting, because I'm hearing a lot of people who don't necessarily understand what's going on. And when I break it down,
they don't know history.
Right. They don't know history.
It's not a critique. It's almost like a scary thing, because again, we can repeat it if we're not sure what happened and why. You know what? I even saw something today, and that's why I'm doing my show on Saturday with Security Boss about is having children smart. I got home early, a Dr. Phil that was similar in calling it the procreation debate. And you know who was on there? A YouTuber named Anton.
Oh, really?
Yes. I was like, he's on Dr. Phil. I don't know if I'm letting it out there if it's an old show, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Anton. So long story short, his vocal opinion, to summarize it, and again, he can speak for himself. Just summarizing, was like, people should be challenged to meet a certain criteria before having children. Like, some suggested in the audience that even it should be government. I was like, y'all don't realize if they did that, we might not have any more minority kids ever again. Who runs the government? Who gets to make this decision? And using almost like an economic means test to say, if you don't have enough money to support and give a kid like a good or decent middle class life, that you shouldn't be able to have, but so many, et cetera, et cetera. And it was very controversial. Dr. Phil responded saying, I come from very, very, meager means. My parents didn't have a lot of money. And look at me now. So you can't just say because a kid grew up in poverty that they're automatically going to, fill a prison or become a scourge on society. Who are you to say that? There are people that break through all the time in spite of conditions they grow up in, the maladies or disadvantages or even sickness and illness of their parents and other reasons. There's a combination of so many reasons why kids end up. I was just watching a commercial earlier today for an outreach center here in Florida, and the little black girl, maybe 10 or 11, was on the commercial saying, without this program, me and my brother, we'd probably be hungry. I was like, first of all, heart-wrenching. I don't know if this child should be on a commercial because it's her life and she's going to like be a part of your ad campaign forever. Nonetheless, her words and how she said it, I kept thinking, man, there are kids that just need a chance. That
Yes.
again, their parents didn't make the best decisions or are not the best, they're not fit in terms of what the traditional and expectations of parenthood should be. But it made me really think about like, wow, who would decide that? And is that a right concept? But bringing it back full circle to your point, this is how we get, the one-child policy in China, where the government told people you can only have one. And many people, if something, God forbid, happened, which happens a lot, your kid passes away, you don't have any more children. You don't have any, like, that's what back in the day, that's why people in many places, pre-contraception yes, because there was no contraception, had a lot of kids, but it was also for security reasons while people, developed a larger family. But go ahead.
But even when you look at that one-child policy in China and other places in the world, two things. First of all, it becomes a woman's rights issue. And I know a lot of people like, oh, my God, you're red pill. What do you mean women's rights? Here's the thing. If you can only have one kid, most places are going to want a boy. So
no. Is that women's rights? Because a lot of girl children get thrown away in China.
Exactly. So it is because you need to enforce female rights so you can keep those little girls alive. So if you got this one-child policy, it hurts women. So that's the first thing. Second thing, like you said, what if your kid get hurt? Well, in China, speaking of China, and I forget what this must have been, I want to say maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, a school collapsed and killed a bunch of children.
And most of those parents only have one child. Yep.
They only had one little boy.
Yeah.
And that's when it became, because back then you could have another kid, but you had to show that you can afford the other kid.
Right.
Because it was economic reasons for the one child policy. And they were like, well, you got to, if you were rich enough, you could have as many kids as you want. Or if you were a part of the
communism, regime,
and you
friends
had
with the communists and supported the Communist Party.
Yes.
You probably got the ability to get one or two, or come to America and have one. Well,
if you had a little bit of pull, if you had some money,
connections.
If you got a connection, you got the money.
Farmer, rice paddy person who's out there, hustling, he don't have that benefit, or she doesn't have that benefit.
You're right.
The economic standard, I was like, ew, this is a tough thing to argue.
But going back to that point, you talk about like here in America, and this is one of the things I talk to my political friends about all the time on both sides of the aisle. Like, listen, we know that we have children here of all colors, of all economic backgrounds, with like poor backgrounds from every community, that they struggle with food and whatnot. They go to school. Why don't we have real food in the school? They could get at least 2 meals a day.
Michelle Obama was trying to make y'all eat real food, but y'all was mad. Like,
because you cutting into people's money.
But
and
no,
like you said,
the majority
real food.
of kids, excuse me for interrupting, especially like in Miami-Dade, we have a lot of free and reduced, if not the majority of kids here are on free and reduced lunch. So their main meal is coming from the schools. They're even doing programs where if kids have like milk left over on their trays and stuff, they don't just throw that stuff away now. They package it in a little bag, in a little backpack, in a little brown bag, so they can go home with the cereal, the milk, the this, the that, and stay, hopefully, within the nutrition guidelines and not go hungry in general. Like food
and that's another thing.
Huge problem.
Nutrition guidelines. We're feeding the kids poison. It's not like they're getting real food, but we have the money. It's actually cheaper to give real food to children it's cheaper than what we're doing now with the vending machine stuff. But that's another conversation.
Yeah,
But
I was about to say, and the culpability of why, again, in America, there's a saying that you can kill people slow, you just can't kill people fast.
Just can't kill them
So
fast.
if you do it over time by inserting fat, salt, poison,
Sugar.
basically sugar in their food over time, oh no, it's their choice. There's so much I love about our freedom, and especially when we're talking about freedom to have a child. Is that a freedom? Is that like a right, an inalienable right to say I want a family? Or do we view it as such? I guess is a better question.
Yeah, you can. I mean, that again, that's a whole nother show, girl. Now we
No, I was just
we
thinking
going down
about,
a rabbit hole now.
yeah,
That's
no,
a
and I'm
whole
thinking
nother
about,
show.
but who are we? And that's what we'll talk about that on Saturday, actually, with Security Boss.
There
We
you
talk
go.
about, is it smart to have children? Is it still smart? Or if you didn't think it was even before that, because you have people, there were so many extreme views, even people that were like, human beings should self-eliminate, meaning everybody should just stop procreating so the planet can heal. And I was like, actually, I'm not with you on that, sir. There were extremes to it, but it was very interesting. So we're going to talk more about that, the decision not to have children. Or is it even a decision, just you just don't have a partner, for men and for women, right? There are a lot of people that want kids and want relationships but don't have them. So we're going to talk about that in this modern day society. Are people pulling back from it, or can they not afford it, right? With the cost of everything and what it costs to raise them responsibly. Why are
I'll
we
be there.
seeing, a decline across the United States? It's under 2 kids on average now. I think it's like 1.8. I don't know how they're going to divide a child into 0.8, but they're saying on average it was like 1950s. It was like 4 was the average in the household, and then it slowly declined till it hit about 10 years ago 2, and then now we're under 2 kids. I mean, a lot more people are having 1, but like that or none.
Or no,
So
well, yeah, that's a great conversation. Because we can spend 3 hours on that topic alone.
Saturday we're gonna do that. So okay, we know. Okay, so now we've talked about your boy. We talked
Yeah, and the last thing about Kanye, because you're like, oh, it's like a lot of people out here, a lot of black folks are saying this is a plan, this, that, and the other. People don't understand how dangerous these words are. That's the whole point.
Yes.
There are people out there, well, he doesn't really hate Jewish people. Well, it sounds like he does. He sounds like he should be wearing a brown shirt with some really high boots walking around over there in Germany in 1930s. That's what he sounds like. He doesn't understand what he is doing. That's my take on it. When you talk about a Kanye West, there is no rhyme or reason. He's just out here doing what he's doing. You talk about people who needs to sit down and get some help. That's one of them. I want to say this, and we'll move on. Mm-hmm. He has a known white supremacist with him flying around in his private jet, going from spot to spot in America right now. Right now, he is sitting next to a white supremacist. What does Kanye West think that Nick Fuentes thinks of him and our people? That's the problem. Like, you out here with this guy who would love to see you swinging from a tree, bro. You know what I mean? He wouldn't think a second thought.
Doesn't even make any sense. Because I'm like, is it the I'm not black, I'm OJ symptom? But honey, they corrected you on that with all your contracts being canceled because with the crazy words you're spouting. But it still shocked me that he's doubled down on it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and continues to do so.
Host of this, all this money lost, that you would wake up, but he's doubling down, and is even kind of becoming more extreme by these associations. And what he's saying is still, it's shocking. It's crazy, and he doesn't seem like he's going to back down. So I'm sure we'll bring him up in the future. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, tell me what you think is not facts. That sounds like it's putting words in someone's mouth. That's not facts. At TTO, I would beg you to come up. I'm gonna drop. I didn't drop the link. Let me drop the link, and you can let us know on the open mic. Last call on the. We weren't supposed to go long tonight.
Yeah, so my fault.
No, it's okay. I'm here trying to wrap up. And DL was like, "What about? What about?"
But this is what we talked about.
I get it. And I think, he has been in the major headlines. So it's good to kind of acknowledge what the heck's going on there for those who are, keeping up or not keeping up. But finally, I was talking about the Jerry Jones story, and I just want to touch it before we go. Mr. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, was, I don't know if the word is outed, but he was shown in a news story about like lack of diversity in the NFL. Long story short, Uh, according to Washington Post, they published an article about Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, which focuses on the inequities in the NFL, including the lack of black head coaches. This is according to the Griot. So, included in the article, there is a photo that was taken September 9th, 1957. Right, think about that, 65 years ago, ish, as 6 black students attempted to attend classes at a segregated whites-only school. The incident happened during the same month the Little Rock Nine, which are the famous young people who desegregated Arkansas schools, attempted to integrate Little Rock Central High. So it wasn't that school, because a lot of people saw the story and was like, oh, he was up there with the Little Rock Nine. No, but this was in the same school district and around the same time, right? All right, so in the photograph taken at the scene, Jones can be seen standing a few yards from where 6 black students were being jostled and repelled with snarling racial slurs by ringleaders of what many would call a mob. At one point, a black student named Richard Lindsay recalled someone in the crowd put a hand on the back of his neck. A voice behind him said, "I want to see how blank N-word feels." The ruffian hostilities succeeded in turning away the would-be new enrollees. Basically, they gave up. They didn't go in. So looking at this photo for yourself, y'all can Google this photo, zoom in on the image. You can definitely see it almost looks the same. It's weird that he's probably 14. Some outlets are reporting he was 14 in it. Others are saying he was 15 in it. But looking at it, it's like his facial expression is the same as it normally would be as an older man. It's kind of interesting what we retain. But yes, it's a baby face, but it's still kind of like definitely him, right? So he explained it that Mr. Jones allegedly stated that he was in the background kind of because he was curious. Long story short, okay, everybody knows Jim Crow South, this was real, right? Arkansas was a really divided place where lynching and mass, murder to some levels happened, where people were deterred from living by a constant threat of violence. So if you grew up during that time, this is not hard to believe, and this is not something that would be unheard of. But he was saying that he was curious and that even his football coach at the time had warned them not to go. So he went, he was curious. Paraphrasing now just to kind of get through the story. I don't know. And what I really wanted to attach to it was what Stephen A. Smith said. And if y'all don't follow sports, Stephen A. is a very popular, highly paid commentator who seemed to maybe justify it. In Stephen A.'s commentary, he says, "I'm pretty peed off. I'm peed off, but not for the reasons that y'all think. I'm a very, very fond," he admits, "of Jerry Jones." Right? Is he perfect? No. Does he have a perfect record? No. But I'm pissed because he doesn't deserve what just happened. He doesn't deserve it. Our report said he was 14. The other one said he was 15 at a minimum 65 years ago. So Stephen A. Smith was more upset about cancel culture than what had actually happened. So to Stephen A.'s point, long story short, you're going to bring out a photo of Jerry, quotes, Stephen A. Smith, standing at a protest, no question of what was happening. It's not something that any body as a black person should be appreciative about. Of course, we had 6 students at the at the North Little Rock High School. They were trying to desegregate it nonetheless. And he says also, though, I will add, Stephen A. Smith did say racism is alive and well, bigotry and prejudice is alive and well. We get all of that, but you're going to bring up a photo of him when he was 14, 15 years old, 65, 66 years ago. It was the context is like, come on, man, why are we doing that? So Smith then labeled the rightful outrage as the attempt at cancel culture and said Jones shouldn't be judged for something that happened when he was 14. Woo. Knowing that Jones was born and raised in the South, as if that somehow okays it, says the writer here. Anyway, so Stephen A. is a very, very opinionated gentleman. He's always going to speak his mind. I don't know if you're a fan or not, but what do you think
of Stephen A.?
Yeah.
He posted a video of him training like he was boxing, and ever since I seen that, I can't take the man seriously. Because I don't know if you saw that girl, but
No,
man,
okay.
oh, you need to go.
I
I'm gonna
have
find it.
not
I'm gonna
seen
send it
it.
to you. I'm gonna find it and send it if I can find it. He probably tried to scrub it off the internet. Lord have mercy. Now he need to just keep writing and yeah. But anyway,
Lord.
but what he's talking about here. All right, here's the thing.
Last
I
call
don't.
for the back, but go ahead, Dio.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it caught traction because I don't think there's anyone that was like, yeah, Jerry Jones is or was or it may still be racist at some level. You know what I mean? There's no story there.
There's no
you know
shock.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Nah, there's no shock. There's no there. Jerry, 65 years ago, Jerry Jones was out here chasing black folks with a brick. Yeah, of course he was. You know what I mean? Like, and or the Dallas Cowboys still winning? That's all people want to know. Like, are they still winning? It's been like 15 years. They still got a winning season? We don't care about all that kind of stuff. And you know what I mean? So, and it is a stab at woke culture. Woke culture doesn't make any sense. It's dumb. And it who was it? Bill Burr. Bill Burr did an excellent bit on woke culture. He was like, I'm tired of these people trying to cancel dead folks. Of course, Jerry Jones is still alive, but it was like they were trying to cancel, John Wayne. They were trying to cancel Sean Connery. He was talking about Sean Connery. You know what I mean? Sean Connery used to abuse women. He's like, nah, every now and then you give him a little slap, right? That's what Sean Connery said. And they're like, yeah, see that right there? He's abuser. He's that. They're like, look, he said it like 50 years ago. Right. And then and Burr went into this whole thing about how he would have grown up, what type of world he was in as a kid. All that has context and all that kind of stuff. It's a great bit. If you haven't seen it, it's Bill Burr live at Red Rocks. But he went on to say in that bit, he was like, y'all want to cancel Sean Connery, you want to cancel John Wayne. Let's talk about Coco Chanel. And I'm not sure, did you see this bit or do you know the history of Coco Chanel?
No, there are parts of what you're talking about that are just, I'm like, ooh, when we talk about statute of limitations, and again, we only have about 5 minutes here, so we're not going to go in heavy. But when I think about statute of limitations, when I think about the type of crime or offense, and some of the discussions we've had in recent political circles, whether it has, involved former President Trump, for example, talking about what he did with women and people saying, oh, it was this many years or that many years ago. Should we not talk about it? When we think about now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, about what he did and how he was a child, or a teen or a young adult, I guess. Tell me the age again. Excuse me if I'm.
He was in college. He was old enough to go to war, so that makes him a grown up.
High school or college, I couldn't remember clearly. Forgive me. And thinking about should it not be brought up? And when I think about even more on the Hollywood side of Roman Polanski and these people that may have been in their 20s abusing allegedly kids and things like this. Is it something that we as a society should, put in the books and say, nope, that person was a different person. The person now at 65 shouldn't be accountable. Like, these are the things that you're talking is coming in my mind.
I'm with you on that. I wouldn't push back much on that, but I like Bill Burr's point. How come we're not canceling women? That was his whole point. We're always, wherever we go back, we want to talk about men. How come we're not canceling women? We talk about Coco Chanel. We talk about the woke mob.
Tell me about Coco Chanel. I'm sorry.
Coco Chanel. We know Chanel bags and Chanel.
Yes, I know who that is.
And
I know who she is. Well, but I don't know about her having.
Coco Chanel started her business in France. She was in business and established before the late 1930s, right? So when the Nazis rolled in, what she did was shut down her businesses. She found out where all the top Nazis were staying. She went to that hotel and she began dating one of the Nazis, right? And she became Coco Chanel's a known Nazi sympathizer, and that was the whole point of the bit. Go to her Wikipedia. It's like half her Wikipedia is about how she was, not only was she a known Nazi sympathizer, but some alleged that she was a Nazi spy, right? And she had to leave. She had to leave France after the war because the French people were looking for her, right, to hold her to account. And it was Winston Churchill who was able to pull some strings and get her back into France in like the 60s or something like that, the 50s or 60s. And even later in life,
charges.
No, never. And even later in life, She paid for funerals of high-ranking Nazi officials that died or whatever, took care of their care. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. No one's talking about boycotting Chanel. Nobody. All these woke folks, all these woke women, they want to go out there and get themselves a Chanel bag, right? That's the hypocrisy that Bill was talking about.
Balenciaga if you want to. Like, first of all, you're schooling me. I don't have enough information. I did not even know about Coco Chanel's history. Not my label, not my brand. So I'm going to have to read more about her and the story that you've just shared. Wow. It's just
real
wow
quick. Yeah, it's just quick.
No.
Pictures and everything. They have very detailed what she did, who she did it for. It was an order that came from Adolf Hitler himself to send Coco Chanel to Britain to talk to Winston Churchill to convince him to surrender. And this was before the Blitz. This was before the Battle of Britain. So she was a known Nazi sympathizer.
In the circle. Wow.
And her brand stands to this day.
Till now, you're teaching me this history, so I'll definitely have to kind of read up on it and understand who she was at that time and her role, as you've described it in this kind of quite surprising way, and then why she's never been, according to what you've just shared, held to account.
I mean, not even her, but her brand is here to
never
this day.
Never suffered.
But we want to do something to Jerry Jones.
Did I own any? Like, I've never ever heard this story, and I'm like, I consider myself someone who's decently read and informed. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, do people know this story?
This is a French woman. She's a Parisian, and when the Nazis came in, she jumped right on their side. That is unacceptable. Jerry Jones grew up in a culture that did what they did. I'm not trying to excuse it, but of course he did that. Of course he used the N-word, right? Of course he was about all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
And where he grew up is not shocking. It's definitely not shocking. Let me think about that when you say women are not held to account. When I think about the Me Too, when I think about a lot of men in those scenarios that I'm telling you where I've seen it be valid, in 1970 something or 60 something, it wasn't nobody holding nobody to account. From the court system to the police to the powers that be, the structures protected people. So there are parts of me that think, you got to go back. If there's enough evidence that, again, let it stand up in a court of law that can persuade depending on if it's civil or criminal. Let's talk about
that. I don't agree. That I don't agree with, because of statutes of limitations. I don't agree with that. I mean, those are the rules. If
there is a statute of limitation, we don't have an argument. I'm just saying, where there is an extended murder, where there is an extended
there's no statute of limitations on murder. So
you got it. Like, when it comes to so let's talk about. I guess your distinction is if it's not a criminal offense, and they have done something that was, again, at the time legal, Jerry Jones, but now by today's standard. Do you agree with Stephen A. where he's saying, no, this is too old. It was culturally appropriate. Why y'all trying to cancel him? Do you think that's the true issue with the photograph and Mr. Jones?
I don't necessarily agree with Stephen's point on that. My point is this: of course he was racist. So what are we trying to do? Like that, that's a nothing burger. Of course he was. So
you're
racist.
saying his money is still going to be good. He shouldn't be forced to do the perp walk of shame. He shouldn't be doing any of that and the apology tour. None of this.
Why? I mean, it's just like what good would it do?
Because I think when Black people or other people of color do things like this, they're forced to do that. Kevin Hart, people who have so-called checkered past, who jokes at the time would be acceptable, but jokes now are seen as anti. You just fill in the blank. We're not going into detail, but
what's her name? What's the stand-up comedian slant actress with the mole? She got herself in trouble with something recently.
Black woman.
Yeah, Black woman. She was in that Girls Trip movie or whatever. The sister.
Not Wanda.
No. Younger. She's absolutely. She really is crazy. I just can't think of her name right now. Stand-up comedian. It'll come to me, but she did something and got in trouble for. Same thing. They're trying to make her do the apology tour for saying a joke that just didn't land right. Whatever. You're a comedian. You're gonna push boundaries. I don't agree with any of that. You know what I mean? Like, or because here's the thing. Where's the end? If we find a guy who was 16 years old working in some realtor's office somewhere, who was the actual guy who drew the red line around neighborhoods. He had nothing to do with the policy. It was his first job. He's 16 years old. Here's the map. I need you to draw this red line, trace this thing, and we find that guy. Are we going to hold him responsible for redlining?
Tiffany Haddish.
There you go, Tiffany Haddish. Thank you.
Okay,
that's the one. Are we gonna hold that guy?
True apology tour. I go.
Yeah, and Jerry Jones is a billionaire. Like, and Kevin Hart is not. So I mean, it's not as if you're gonna hurt his money. You're not. What worst thing he's gonna do is sell the Dallas Cowboys, one of the most iconic sports franchises on the planet. You're not gonna. How can you? Hurt him?
But y'all made, what's his name? The one who said that Magic had HIV. The one, Donald Sterling, y'all made him get out of his, ownership role.
Because he was like, you can don't do it on Instagram. That guy, like, don't do it on Instagram.
No, he was mad with a young lady and who she was messing with. That she was messing with these black guys
on the phone call, right?
Yes, you remember. I will not, like, it is imprinted in my memory.
He never said the N-word once. You realize in that whole conversation, he never said the N-word once.
But listen what he did say. I will not forget it. And I'm paraphrasing. This is my recollection, y'all, of those Donald Sterling tapes. You sure he never said the N-word?
He never said the N-word once.
And saying, what's wrong with black people? What's wrong with Magic? And his response was, he's got AIDS. It was the crazy.
But here's the thing, though.
I'm not laughing about the condition. I'm not laughing, but
that's funny, though, girl.
It was like, dang, Donald Sterling, like, what you on?
But here's the thing, though. He never used, in his case, he gets a pass because he never said the N-word once. That guy,
didn't he lose ownership right? Didn't they make him?
Yeah, yes. And you know what? There was something behind that as well. People use these devices to make political moves.
They've been wanting to get him out. Okay, so they just used it. So Jerry Jones is well liked enough, or got enough money, or is owed enough favors, where people ain't gonna pull the plug and push him to do any of that. Right. Interesting. Power.
Right.
Interesting.
So, and if I were him, I wouldn't say nothing. Like, man, don't say nothing as a blowover. What do they think I'm racist? Like, no, bro, they know you're racist. I mean, that's what I would tell him. Like, come on, man,
black head coach guys, anything, like, I don't know, spotlighting him in that way. I try to, it is what, to me, equity determines what should or should not be. Of course, under the law, you also have, standards and evidentiary standards you must prove. This is not a crime, but I'm trying to think again, if you want other people to bow out of their living, or even, this is too much, but like Will Smith just got on Trevor Noah, I think last night, talking about the slap of Chris Rock. And just, again, I thought about that. I was like, 10 years ban. Serious.
He's got to take his medicine. He shouldn't have done that. And then TTOO is saying no difference between 100 million and a billion net worth. Both. No, it's a huge difference between $100 million and $1 billion. That's why they call them billionaires, bro. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. Go talk to a billionaire.
So I'm like, the slap gets you 10 years. Again, I'm just thinking about equity. And then you being at a at a segregation rally don't get you no time.
But look at the upside down world we're in, right? We're talking about this guy. We're talking about this man who was obviously racist or whatever. Maybe he changed his ways. He's older. He's wiser. Who knows? But look at Kanye West flying around the country with a Nazi.
Yes. The self-proclaimed white supremacist. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Alleged.
It's alleged. It's an upside down world that we're in. So Kanye gets a pass?
No, Kanye not getting no pass. They're eating him up. They're eating him up on the news cycle. A lot of people are talking about how disgusting or how we as a society should not tolerate.
But he got a pass
even
from
the
us.
Republicans have to come out. Mitch McConnell, in a very carefully worded statement, was like, no one who's running for president. I gotta read Mitch McConnell's statement. I was kind of like, did he just?
It's right here. I got it.
Go ahead.
I got it right here for you.
I was like, that wasn't saying I condemn this.
Yeah, he said there's no room in the Republican Party for anti-Semitism or white supremacy. He said, and anyone meeting with people advocating that point of view, in my judgment, are highly unlikely to ever be elected president of the United States. And that's Mitch McConnell,
Is that a
Republican.
condemnation? That
As
last
close
part
as you're going to get. Yeah, as
is
close as you're going to
highly
get.
unlikely to become president.
As close as
Should
you're going to get.
never become president.
But that's coming from the minority leader of the Senate. That's coming from a lifetime Republican. That's those are harsh words at Donald Trump. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
It's highly
Everybody knows.
unlikely to become president. Well, like that again, I felt it soft. I understand your interpretation. I'm listening to it again. I saw it on the as it was being asked of him at the news conference. Listening to it again, I'm like, I hear your point. Where it's strong for him as a minority leader in the role he holds in the Senate.
What is he, like the number 2, number 3 Republican?
No, he's their top
in the country.
guy.
In the country, in the country, he's like number 3.
Yeah.
You got Trump,
line. So he can't say too strong. I get what you're saying.
So, and you got others coming out, but
not that I agree, but I get.
But back to Kanye, those things he said about George Floyd, the black folks gave him a pass, right?
I don't know if we gave him a pass, but we didn't say anything.
He didn't lose nothing, and he got empowered. He got a pass, and you look at, you know what I mean? Jerry Jones wasn't saying anything like that about a black man. He wasn't saying string him up or anything like that. So, come on now. And this was, again, Kanye did this now. We're talking about what Jerry Jones did 60 plus years ago.
Yeah, I hear you. We as a black community didn't do enough or anything, quite frankly. Some people might have, we called it out in comment sections and such, but it wasn't like he felt it. There was no economic, there was nothing that was major in terms of an impact on his influence. But you're saying, why are we going after Mr. Jones 65 years later? I really got to think about that. I really got to think about that. Because there's so much. We're in an atonement culture. We want people to atone. And for some reason, I guess if you have enough money, I ain't mad. You don't have
1%. We all know the 1% runs the world. But if you catch Jerry Jones on tape today saying, I'll never hire another darkie to be head coach of the Cowboys, you know what I mean? Okay, now you got something.
Okay. Okay.
Now you got something. I'll be right there with you holding the sign. You got something.
If you got him on tape today, but don't necessarily cancel him for something happened 65 years ago.
65 years ago? Lord, please. I hope people don't show up about some stuff I did 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
But there's so much of today's complications based on what people did 50 years ago. Yeah, our society is shaped by that. Beneficiaries as well as those who were in places of lack. There is because somebody put the red line there.
Yes,
like, don't blame the red line guy, but there was a direct benefit for people who set the system up. So if you look back at them?
Well, if you can find the orderly or the hospital attendant that turned Dr. Charles Drew away from the hospital, if you can find that person today, that man or woman today, and they're still alive, and you want to go ahead and prosecute them, okay.
I don't think they would necessarily. I think,
or you want to give them a walk of shame or whatever you want to do. Like, this is the person.
Them to do a walk of shame. I don't know if I agree with that. Let me ponder that a little bit more. But I think if we found, just like the Emmett Till lady, but I know that was murder, different story, and it was a national impacting. National politics, etc. That story.
And what they do, they make a movie about it, and they even in the movie they didn't really hold her feet to the fire.
No,
you see what I mean?
It's more about the heroism of the mom, the heroism of mommy, and not about the dastardly. Sorry, that was a big word. We're really kind of crazy and disgusting.
But we're not gonna. We got a movie. We got the issues. Her family is still alive. We're not gonna hold her feet to the fire. But we want to go after Jerry Jones.
It was a little dust up at one point. I remember a few years ago saying this woman. Did the prosecutors reopen that case?
I remember there was some grumbling about. She finally came out and said that I lied. That she right before she died or something like that.
Yeah,
she said it and then she died or whatever. But here's the thing. We got an opportunity to go after her legacy.
Yeah, and we
got to go. Yeah, because we be here another 5 hours.
But even I think that is a good topic about it. Stand alone. When is it okay to forgive for past indiscretions, whether it's our public figures, our celebrities, our politicians, whoever that figure is, when is it? And again, there's criminal liability, fine. But when it comes to, I don't know, social faux pas, social, what was okay then, but now people can't say it. People won't say it. People will get canceled if they said that now. When is it where should we draw the line? And again,
Where should we draw the line? And who should we believe? And that's another thing too. Amber Heard. You know what I mean? Who should we believe?
No, listen, Jerry Jones is in that picture. We know it's him. So 14-year-olds, again, brains are not fully developed. Things I think about all kinds of standards, but I also think about those standards not being applied equally with equity. Because
and wouldn't that be a misdemeanor? I don't even think that was a full blown felony, depending on what he did.
It probably wasn't against the law in that time during the Jim Crow period. But what I'm thinking about, for example, and I don't want to start up another conversation, but like, for example, like a Nicholas Cruz. So this is in my backyard, the shooter of Parkland. All this, and you can allow it when it comes to death penalty cases, and everybody testified how the mom was possibly his birth mom was fetal alcohol and or drinking while she was pregnant, and always he was difficult, and so he got life. But I think about that and I'm like, think about how many other cases where there are children of color, Black kids. You're not getting all this context. Now, granted, it's not a murder of how many people, 14, 15 people. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but you get what I'm saying? Like the painting of him as a human, as a this person, again, that was during the penalty phase. That was during the when the judge could give you the death penalty. I just thought about how many people do not get humanized like that in a court of law at any phase.
Yeah, because of the way they look. I mean, again, that's just America. Like, it delves off into another conversation, but you're right. And it sucks and it's wrong. But do we go back in time and we find that sheriff who might still be alive? He's 101 years old. And like, oh, this is the guy who locked up 50 innocent Black men for life.
They're doing it in Nazi Germany. They're doing it. They're bringing 101-year-old Nazi guards.
That's Israel.
In The Hague.
That's Israel. They ain't never gonna let that go. That's
no.
Israel.
All I'm saying is, like, just for a second, we got to stop the conversation because we can keep going. But the beautiful thing is just, I mean, I'm only bringing that up for comparison's sake to ask the question, if it's like horrific crime we're talking about, and there's enough evidence, eyewitness, whatever, collect it, bring it in front of the tribunal, wherever the jury is, or whatever kind of court administrative procedure exists. I don't know if, especially when it comes to sexual violence and what we're talking about here, like
I mean, if
genocide,
you can find someone,
it is so critical to look back because it impacts what we have existing now. But go ahead.
If you found someone who's still alive today that's responsible for the deaths of like 6 people in Rosewood, Florida massacre, then yes, you should prosecute that person. I don't care how old they are. Yes. You know what I mean?
I guess it's the nuance. I guess it's no cut and dry, black and white. Pun intended. No pun intended. No, but there's a lot in that there's a lot of layers that the Jerry Jones story brings up, y'all. Well, we're going to leave it there. Definitely going to enjoy having conversations like this, y'all. I hope you enjoy it. Support. Thank you very much, everybody who supports the stream just by being here, watching.
It's a great open mic.
And yes, I enjoyed it. Mr. DL Saint, you see his name there. And his podcast link is in the description. So if you would, check him out. Check out his channel. Like I said, he has a very thoughtful perspective on so many things. Very curious person like me. So we are both kind of kindred spirits in that regard, wanting to talk about just things that are interesting and different and not necessarily in the same box over and over. So DL, I want to thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you.
Great show. Great show.
Thank you.
You still got your Art Basel thing coming up, don't you? Or did you already do that?
Yes, and my announcement. I was just gonna.
And your announcement.
I was just gonna segue. Let me drop you down. I was just gonna segue. I'm super excited, guys. So tomorrow, I already shared it with my Patreon, kind of how everything came about. So I won't be giving all the background and details, but good news. I will be a guest commentator starting tomorrow, every Wednesday. So especially between now and the end of the year, I have a wonderful collaborator who is allowing me to be a guest commentator on his platform. It's called The Culture with Faraji Muhammad. So if you're familiar with any of the Roland Martin channel that is here on YouTube and a network that he's creating called or has created called the Black Star Network, he has a lot of guests and guest hosts that are now putting out content on his platform, the Black Star Network. So as soon as I get the link and stuff, y'all, I'm going to share it. One of these such shows is called The Culture, and it is a kind of exploration about what Black culture is and why we do what we do and what we've adopted as normal or acceptable and why. And hopefully we'll have discussions that will influence the culture and have us question why we believe what we believe or we practice what we practice and kind of move how we do within our community. So I'm really excited, and shout out to Mr. Faraji Muhammad for allowing me this opportunity to collaborate and come on and, much like the night, share my voice, share my opinion on what's going on, right? Pop culture and news or social media and music. He's all over. Black culture is very vast, and we'll cover a lot. So I'm really excited. So I hope you will support. I will definitely drop the link when I have it for tomorrow, my first show. So 3 p.m. Eastern, y'all, please support. I will again put the link in the community tab on YouTube. So y'all please check me out. This is a good look, and I'm really grateful. Again, shout out to everybody who has helped in any way grow this platform, and you never know where this will lead. So I'm excited. Pray for me, and I'll be on The Culture featuring Mr. Faraji Muhammad starting tomorrow, right? So I'll put up another little flyer, remind everybody with the link. But supporting me means so much. And again, all my Patreon members, the folks who dedicate a little bit monthly for exclusive content and support what I do, y'all know what it is. I really, really, really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for all the congrats and all the encouragement and the DMs and whatnot about this next opportunity. So can't wait to see what it brings, y'all. And I'm excited. Again, thank you to Mr. DL Saint of the DL Saint I Really Want to Know podcast. Please check it out. Appreciate you. And thank you, RM. Fantastic job tonight. One of my moderators here holding me down. But anyway, we got to go to bed, y'all. Have a great night. Shout out to Team Replay. Hit the like button, y'all, before you go. I will see you probably because I got Art Basel. I'll be hosting a reggae show, an art exhibition called Let There Be Reggae, featuring Baby Sham. He is a old school, not even old school, he's still putting out music, but one of the original dancehall heroes, 90s dancehall heroes, Super Twitch, huge DJ in the dancehall space, out of New York, been in South Florida forever. I would call him one of the living legends of dancehall as well. We have 2 or 3 major art exhibitors, Trinidad and Tobago in the house, a couple of the islands, talking about how reggae has influenced culture, right? It's a cultural experience. It's not a concert. Don't come ready to give me no, it's not a party, even though we will have a good vibe, because Super Twitch, one of the honorees, will be there. Icons, if you know Icons, it's also a popular DJ down here, will be the DJ for the night. But it will be a mixture of art and vibes, is what they told me. We met yesterday, so I was excited to kind of hear the vision, and I'll be emceeing it. Yours truly will be in the house. So I'm really excited about that. Art Basel in full effect. I don't even want to go out before that night, because Art Basel is like all coming up this whole week, December 1st through like next weekend. So there'll be shows, there'll be all kinds of exhibits, walking through basically Wynwood will be amazing. Miami Beach will be amazing. There'll be art shows almost everywhere you look. We also have cities like Opa-laka. Shout out to the OP. Doing, their mayor puts on something called Soul Basel, which is specifically designed for the Black audience. We have, I think it's called Soul Bay, Black Art Experience. Also Urban Miami, I've seen that posted, and a couple other wonderful shows. I think there's a party this weekend hosted by Diddy that is sponsored. And then Sunday, I might have to go out Saturday and Sunday again, and I don't want to be tired next week, but it's Art Basel, y'all. So I appreciate the support, and I'm grateful, y'all. All right, thanks for dropping it. Thank you so much, RM, in the chat already. Looking out for The Culture with Faraji Muhammad. I will be, again, a guest commentator. Yes, going forward on his channel, y'all. So come over and support Wednesdays, 3 to 5. live. So you won't see me on Wednesdays. I'm probably till about 6 if I go live now. All right, 6, 7. All right, appreciate y'all. Bye. Have a great night. Thanks for watching, y'all. Appreciate it. And hit the like button. Have a great night.